Hello there and welcome back. This is an Algebra 1 video where we're going to be looking at how to rewrite multivariable equations. So if you're wondering what this is it's an equation that's made entirely out of different variables. And we're going to be given a variable that we have to solve for. So we're not actually going to get numerical solutions. We're just going to kind of be rearranging the equation as if you wanted to solve for one particular variable instead. Okay, so here is our first one. This is our equation. It's QR equals SPT, and we're trying to solve for P. So that means we need to rearrange this equation so that P is completely by itself. That's what we need. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of spread this out a little bit. I'm going to write Q times R equals S times P times T. Okay, so we know that when variables are bunched together and there's nothing in between, that means multiply or numbers in front of variables. So I'm going to spread it out because it'll be easier for us to see how we can get P completely by itself. So there are still two sides to the equation, and P is the one that we're solving for. So a lot of times with these, what I'll do is I'll circle the variable that I'm solving for. That'll help me visually see what needs to get moved to the other side of the equation. So now that I've circled the P, I know the S and the T need to get moved. Well, S is being multiplied by P and P is being multiplied by T. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So that means if I divide this side by S times T, and I divide this side by S times T, it gets canceled out or eliminated because S divided by S is 1 and T divided by T is 1, and 1 times P times 1 is just P. So now we have P by itself over here. Then on the other side, we have Q times R divided by S times T. Now we don't know what Q, R, S, or T are equal to, so we can't actually evaluate it numerically. Instead, all we can do is write Q, R, or Q times R divided by S, T. So what that means is if you had this equation and you knew what all of those variables stood for, you could solve for P if you took Q times R and divided it by S times T. All right, so that is our first one. Okay, so here's our next one. We're going to take we're going to take C equals Q divided by V, and we're going to solve for Q. So now you might be wondering with these, like, why am I doing this? Why am I rearranging this together? So what you're doing is you're trying to kind of show that you have a good understanding of algebraic properties and how to solve for particular variables. That's why you're asked. And you might be thinking, like, really, that's it? It's just my answer is just a bunch of variables rewritten in a different order. And yes, that is the case because we don't know what these variables are equal to. So again, I'm going to put the two sides to this equation. We are solving for Q, so I'm going to circle Q. Right now, Q is being divided by V. So the opposite of dividing by V would be multiplying by V. So I'm going to multiply this times V and this times V. These two V's on the right will cancel out because V divided by V is 1 and 1 times Q is just Q. So we've got Q over here. And on the other side, we have V times C. So we could write that as VC or CV. In multiplication, it doesn't really matter what order you go in. So either one of those would be correct on the left. And then that would be your final answer. VC equals Q or Q equals VC or V times C or C times V. Okay, here's our next one. The equation is W equals negative U times V times X, and we're solving for X. So what I'm going to do is rewrite this and spread this out a little bit. W equals negative times U times V times X. Now that negative or negative U is negative 1 times U, so I'm going to put a 1 there. Okay, now we are solving for X, so I'm going to go ahead and circle that. So all of these other things are being multiplied by X. The opposite of multiplying by all of these things or multiplying X by one of these things, all of these things, is to divide. So I'm going to divide by negative 1 times U times V. And I'm going to do that over here as well. Negative 1 times U times V. What happens on the right side is all of these things get eliminated. -1 divided by -1 is 1. U divided by U is 1. V divided by V is 1. So they all get eliminated because 1 times 1 times 1 times x is just x. So all those things get canceled out. And then what we're left with is what we have on the left. W divided by -1 times U times V. Now we know that anything divided by -1 is the negative version of that number. So we're going to simplify that part and rewrite it as just -w on top of u v, because that's what's left at the bottom. Sorry, my v looks more like my u. I'm going to fix that. U v. Oh, still not quite. Yeah, my u's and my v's look very similar. Okay, I think that's better. Okay, so x is equal to -w times u times v. Okay, here is our next one. We have the equation c equals 1 over a times b times d, and we are solving for d. So again, my first step is going to be to rewrite this. C equals 1/3 times, oh, why did I put 3? I was thinking 1/3. Nope. 1 over a times b times d. So spreading it out kind of helps me see piece by piece how I can do the opposite of what's already happening. We're solving for d. So that's what we need right now, and I'm going to circle that. So that means we have 1 over a times b, and we need to move those things to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to put that line here. I'm going to start with the fraction. The opposite of 1 over a is to multiply it by a over 1, or multiply it by its reciprocal. So you might be thinking, how did I jump to that? Well, whenever we are dividing, right now 1 over a is being multiplied by d. So we want to divide it by 1 over a. And the secret to dividing with fractions is to keep change flip, or to actually change to multiplication and use the reciprocal. So that is why I jumped to multiplying this by a over 1. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the other side as well. And what you can see happens here is the a's cancel out and the 1's cancel out, because that would be a over a, and a divided by a is just 1. So it's kind of like canceling itself out over there. Now on the other side, it becomes a times c, or a over 1 times c, and then I'm going to put that over 1. So if you're not sure how I got to that, check out some videos I've done on multiplying fractions. So a times c is just ac, and 1 times 1 is just 1. So if I put it over 1, that's the same as making it a whole number. So I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of that 1. So we have ac equals b times d. Well, my next step is going to be to move the b to the other side. So the opposite of multiplying by b is to divide it by b. So I'm going to divide this by b and this by b. That eliminates those b's right there, leaving me with just d. So the solution to this is that d equals a times c divided by b. Now you could put the c and the a in a different order. You can make it ca over b, and that would be fine. Okay, here is our last one for today's video. We're taking the same equation we used earlier, which is c equals q divided by v, but this time we are solving for v instead of q. So let's look at this one. So we've got this line here that divides the equation. And you might be thinking, well, how am I going to do this? Solving for v on the bottom, how do I get rid of that q on the top? So there is a way that we can do this, but first what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move the v to the other side, even though we're solving for it. Because if I multiply this times v and this times v, these cancel and I get q over here equals v times c. Well, now I can solve for v by dividing both sides by c. And then those c's cancel out. So I had to do a little bit of an extra step to get that v off the bottom and to the other side. But v is now by itself, and it equals q divided by c. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you in another video soon.